So, hello everyone. Just here in the live, waiting for a few people to arrive. Just checking out to see how that's looking. How are you all today? It's a lovely sunny day here. Look forward to chatting with you, finding out where you're at. I'm just setting up a few things. How are you all doing on this wonderful, wonderful day? Yeah, we're going to be talking about mediumship, and I hope you can join me because it's going to be a good talk. So let's start that one. Here we go. Just waiting for a few people to arrive. Facebook's taking a bit of time to get things up. And hey, welcome. We have some people. It's good. I'm just trying to see if I can get anyone else here. They've changed all this technology. Got to get used to all this technology. It's funny. Just when you get used to it, they change it. But good to see you. Welcome. Got any questions about mediumship? Please put them in the bottom here and let me know what your questions are about mediumship, and I shall give the best answer I can. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, so how are we all doing? Welcome to those that have arrived. I think we're ready. Anyone got any questions about mediumship? When you think about the mediumship development, where you're at, what would you like to know about mediumship? Mediumship, spirituality. When I feel about my development and where it went in the beginning, it needed time for me to trust in what was going on. So, that was something that I needed to expand on. Mediumship development. So, welcome to all those that are joining me. Hi, good to have you here. It's a lovely day outside. Hey, welcome, good to have you. So, questions and answers about mediumship and development. When I think about my mediumship and where it was, and what I was doing within my mediumship, it was it was. I had a lot of questions that I never got answered, like down to earth questions about stuff. So if anyone's got anything they'd like to ask, I haven't received anything from anybody apart from I had loads of questions about the power last week, and about what does the power do, and where can you where can you expect the power to go, and that sort of thing. But let me know. Hi to everyone that's joining me. Hi, good to have you here. It's beautiful weather. It's a beautiful day, and when you think about it, a lot of things to do when making a connection with the spirit world is you need to have trust. And when you make that initial connection, and then trusting on every single bit of evidence that comes through, and yay, welcome. And when you have that, it's like that trust and knowing that it's all okay what's coming through. And in development and in mediumship, it takes time before you can have the confidence to just voice what you're getting, and that's something that we all need to work on, and in the beginning, and also even when we getting on with it, we still need to carry on trusting, because if I think the amount of times I've asked my guides for help and the amount of times they've come to me and I've said to them, I said, have you got any advice for me? And the only advice they could give me was say, hey, just trust. Trust in what you can do. Trust in the possibilities of spirit. Because whenever you're making a connection with the spirit world, they're always there. So it's like, when the spirit world are always there, it's like what we can rely on them 100%. Um, so it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be able to have that connection. I know one of the questions I got asked about was what's the difference between psychic mediumship and mediumship? Well, basically, psychic mediumship is when you connect to the aura of a person sitting opposite you or the energy sitting opposite you, and you can read everything about that person's life. So you can read into the colors in their aura, you can read into their lifetime, you can read into their um, uh, the feelings, um, and it's like you can pick up like more than what you can imagine when you think about psychically feeling into somebody and seeing the aura or visualizing what's coming through, and that's where all the energy is coming from forwards from the front. That's how it works for me. That psychic is I feel all the energy coming from here and just feeling how the psychic energy picks up, and then anything you can get things about someone's lifetime, somebody's work, their hobbies, anything like that, and that's very very possible. I like the comment that you mentioned there. I get it all raw and unfiltered, and I think that's the best way when learning. And I know in development and in the book of Harry Edwards, it said, when you can prepare the spirit mind, your mind, with the spirit world, and you can just let them imprint whatever impression they're gonna give it, and just give what you get. Then when you give what you get, you're going to be giving like the most natural in impression of what the spirit world are bringing you. And if you're doing it psychically, like I was just talking about, the first thing that comes in is normally correct. How many times do we double guess ourselves and it's not quite right, you know? Yeah, I understand. Someone's just written in one of the places that sometimes they can make it hard, and it feels like but that you like negativity, but you got to run with it, that sort of thing. And I know it's like it's that getting over that initial thing. But if you think about mediumship, it's really natural. The when it's working at its peak, it's very very natural, and it's very very what's coming in is a natural energy of essence of how it's working. So just going back to the psychic, when you're picking up energy from the front of you and you're feeling it coming from this way, and that's how you can tell a bit of the difference. You'll say, I feel that I'm being pulled forward, so I feel that I'm getting this psychically. Now, when you're getting it from the spirit world, I feel, for me myself, I feel the energy behind me, and I feel it moving in from behind, and then I know I'm getting it from the spirit world. And that's how it works for me. So that's how I know quickly the difference between psychic and mediumistic faculties. So if anyone else has got any questions, write them down. Let me know. I did ask for some, but nobody wrote many down. But it's fascinating when you think about it. Like the ingredients for good mediumship or for developing mediumship is practice is one. So if you've got a good practice group, very good to have a practice group. Sitting in the power. So if you can sit in the power of yourself, meditation, with yourself, with even once a week, maybe sitting with your guides, so that you can have a connection with them. Then you're building the connection with your guides, but also building the connection with the power. And in that way, you're creating more energy. So you're creating energy when sitting in the power of yourself. You're developing your frequency, getting your frequency higher, so that your frequency can get to a point where you say, "Hey, I can pick up the spirit frequency easier. I can pick up that spiritual energy easier because you've raised your frequency over all that time. And also when you are sitting with your guides, and I normally used to do that once a week when I was sitting in the power. So I'd probably do six days a week sitting in the power, and then one day a week sitting with the guides, because then you were tuned to that natural energy of the spirit world, and try to pick up the messages and what the guides are giving you and that sort of thing. And in that way, you're opening up those channels and starting to rely more and more on the energy that's coming from behind you, that spiritual energy coming from the spirit world. And that's those things. So we've got the training that you can do in groups, and it's good to have a good circle. I mean, if you've got a good circle and people that can sit there and observe and give you feedback to what's going on, that's very good to have. Now, just see, I've got a question coming in. How do you pull yourself out of a mediumship slump? I've been taking a break, but question if I'm ready to come back. How did you know, and how do you do it? Now, mediumship slump. I mean, I can really relate to that. I mean, there are moments where you think, oh, it's all going great, and we celebrate those moments when we're getting all that information and it's all going great, and you're feeling like, yes, this is it. The mediumship's on fire, and I feel like it's working. I feel like I'm a medium. But when you have quite a period of time where it's like, it's just missing. It's just not quite how you'd like to have it, and sometimes people get a little bit more emotional about it and start feeling a bit depressed or not quite happy with their mediumships or themselves. And my advice to that is, don't keep yourself down there. I mean, you be positive and just know it's a phase you could be going through. To get you out of that, think about it. When I was mentioning sitting in the power is a good thing to do. I did a video on YouTube about that, so if you look me up on YouTube, you'll find that. And if you sit in the power regularly, you build up your frequency, and it becomes easier to make a connection. That's one thing of remedying the mediumship slump. Plus, mindset. Mediumship slump is also mindset. Do you give in easily because it's been happening quite a while, or do you say, right, that's it, I'm going to change my mindset and I'm going to make a difference? And it's really actually becoming your own coach. And going through the mediumship and development in mediumship, you do have to become your own coach in some way and just say, right, okay, I need to pull myself through this. And if you don't have a good circle that you can sit with that is supporting, then you're going to have to just pick yourself up. I didn't have a circle in my time. I had to be my own coach. I had to be my own. Sometimes I had to be my own teacher, and sometimes I had to push myself, and just keep going and putting one foot in front of the other. And that's the thing. And also, you got to think: are you putting your standards that high, and you're not being able to reach them? So every time you miss, you start putting yourself down. If that's the case, then why don't you just say, why don't you just lower the bar a little bit and just go, it's good enough that I have a contact with spirit. How is it coming in? It could be very well, because you asked that question about the medium slump, that it could be that you're going through a phase of transition within your own mediumship, and it just needs time to settle. The main thing is to stay positive. Now, the second part of your question, if I'm ready to come back, how did I know, and how did you do it? Well, ready to come back. I mean, there's many times I thought, I'm packing this in. I'm going to go and do something else. In my development, I thought, every time it was going right, it's okay. But there were moments where I thought, no, I'm going to do something else, because should I come back to it? Should I not come back to it? I've left it. But when you got to come back, because your spirit calls you back to do this work. And a medium spirit, or a person that's on this path, they feel it deep within. They can't leave it alone. It's like once you start down this journey and you know that you're on the right path, it's difficult to let go of it, because it just keeps calling you back. So when you know that you're ready to do it again, I would say when you feel that you're ready to do it again. But a good thing to start is to sit in the power every day. That's weight training for mediums, that is. If you can sit in the power every day, that's going to get you out the mediumship slump. And if you can, do that, and do one time a week talking to your guides for a bit of guidance, that will start getting things into momentum. And then if you can find a little circle online, if you can, to practice with, or a good teacher that can sit with you and watch your ability and guide you through the process, then that would be my advice for that. Um, I'm hearing, yeah, it's natural to allow spirit to teach and not copy someone else. It's difficult when you think about that. Say, yeah, allow spirit to teach, but we also go to teachers either in the Arthur Findlay or different places. But you don't want to become a copy of your teacher. But on the other hand, because you've learnt from someone, it's very possible to have the same sort of style within mediumship. And obviously, you don't want to be a copy. You want to be, and this is what I say to my students, you want to be an original, which means if you're not clairvoyant, but you're getting clairsentience, then clairsentience is amazing. Celebrate that, right? Celebrate clairsentience and start bringing through the information of feelings and how close spirit can get and how much information you can bring through. Bring that through. That's amazing. But I mean, like, there's a lot of people be like, oh, I'm not getting all the pictures like all the other people. And there are certain medium classes where they concentrate only on doing the pictures, only on, bringing the pictures and the evidence through pictures. But, we don't want to detach from the clairsentience, and there are some people that only get the clairsentience. So that's what makes every medium unique and every person unique in their mediumship. So I mean, you can have people that basically have difficulty with the clairsentience and the clairvoyance, but they're claircognizant, which means they're clair-knowing. And they don't know how they get the information, and they feel quite insecure, but they just get the information and they say it and it's correct. And that's something that can also be worked with, but it's knowing how to work with it and just trusting that as well. How can you have a strong connection with spirit if you don't have a personal relationship with your own light and grow in self-awareness? Well, I think self-awareness and a connection to the spirit world go hand in hand. I do feel that self-awareness should be taught within any mediumship courses that should be given, but the more that you become self-aware of your own feelings, and the more that you become self-aware of you, then the more that you know, okay, anything that now comes in, feelings-wise, pictures-wise, thought-wise, is not you, then it's the spirit world. So the more that you become like with that personal relationship with your own light, your own soul, your own awareness, yeah, the more that you can say, hey, now I know what's from spirit. And the thing is, when we're talking about the power, part of self-awareness is knowing like the positive mindset of yourself. So like knowing your soul, knowing yourself, knowing your feelings, but knowing what is you, what makes you tick. What are the good things that you have in your life and what are not the good things? And knowing that, it's all good, because if that's the makeup of who you are and some things are positive and some things are different and some things aren't, then you're accepting yourself for who you are. And that self-acceptance makes you free to grow on your own personal self-awareness journey. And when you can grow on your own self-awareness journey, you become stronger in the person of who you are, because at the end of the day, you're not just a spiritual medium, you're not just a medium in the making, you're a human being. And being the best human being you can be and knowing that self about yourself can be a power in itself. So when you can spend time to get to know that and to build your own light and to build your own power and to build that self-awareness, that is a really stable foundation to then go on and connect to the spirit world. So we've got some good questions coming in. Let's see if anyone else has got any good questions. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for being here supporting. Yep. Anyone else got any more questions about mediumship while we're here? I think the amazing thing is about mediumship is when I first started. I think one of the things, like, everyone's like, oh, you should get so much evidence, and you should get so much of this. But when I first started, it happened really naturally. It was like, I went to a workshop, a weekend workshop, and I thought, I'm going to do this. So I went to this weekend workshop. All of a sudden, they said, we want you to get a connection for this person opposite you from the spirit world. And all this information, all these feelings came through, and all these thoughts, and a flash came through my mind, and I could tell her how her husband felt about her, and how the connection was with when they were alive, and also the pictures that just flew into mind. And all I did was say everything that I could say, and she said to me, "Wow, that was amazing. How did you do it?" And I looked back at her, because I was a beginner then. I said, "I don't know. I really don't know. All I knew is that I connected to the light, spirit world came in, and we gave what we got." And that's the most natural way of bringing mediumship through today. And I feel it's the most natural way to do it. And as you develop in your mediumship, you get more into a rut, because you start analyzing yourself, grading yourself against other mediums, and saying, "Oh, well, they do it like that. I should be doing this, and I should be doing that." And in that way, we we pull ourselves a little bit down, and we should be really holding ourselves up and saying, at the end of the day, we always do our best for the spirit world. And at the end of the day, hi to the people that are joining us. At the end of the day, we always do our best for the spirit world. At the end of the day, we're always doing our best for spirit, and that's what we've got to be happy with. So, has anyone else got any questions? Let's have a look. Little read here. Can you tell us about mediumship and the ego? Yes, I can tell you about mediumship and the ego. I mean, you've got to look at mediumship and the ego. When you're looking at that, it's like it can be a bit of a trap. At the end of the day, we try to live a spiritual life, and we try to live a spiritual life as a medium, but at the end of the day, we're human. And when you can accept your humanness and being a work in progress, then you're also accepting that part of you that is also the imperfection, right? So for me, it's like accepting the fact that you're a work in progress, so you may have some limited things in your ego. But with mediumship, the less ego you have when you stand up and connect to spirit, or when you do your work for spirit, the purer the essence of the message that will come through. So when you work for spirit, if you can dissolve your mental mind, which is connected to the ego, if you can dissolve that and move that to one side, then you can just let the essence and the energy of spirit awareness come towards you, and in that essence and awareness, just give it straight as it is. And when you do that, that's when you get pure communication with spirit, and that's what we strive for as mediums. I know I do. You strive to be that purest channel, that purest moment of that you can do the best job for the spirit world, and that's what we try to achieve. And part of sitting in the power, every time you sit in the power, because it's like sitting in the power, sitting in the light, when you do that, you're dissolving little more and more bits of that ego mind when you're connected to that spiritual energy. So when you come to make your link to the spirit world, you would have dissolved so much of that mind that the ego would have moved more and more to one side. You'll have a clear mind, so any impressions that the spirit world bring on you would be purer and more of essence. And people would consider it better evidence, but also the essence of spirit would be able to come through more and more. And I think that's one thing about the ego. And so when you can move that to one and become that as pure as you can, but also about the ego, the more that you see a lot of people, they really want to strive, or they want to get somewhere, and sometimes wanting to get somewhere actually pushes it further away. When you can accept yourself as, like I said, if you can accept yourself being as a work in progress and not being there yet, I know I was listening to some lectures in the Arthur Finley, and I know the question was asked like, I'd like to be like Gordon Higgins, and someone said, I think Gordon Higginson said, no, I actually, why would you want to be like me? You want to be better than me, right? And I've heard people say, oh, I want to be like you, or I want to be like you. And I know it's good to look up to people and look up to your mentors and want to be like them, but really you want to be the best version of you, right? So the best version of your mediumship. And that's the main thing to remember, you know. Um, there is a great site, the SNUI. On the SNUI, it doesn't cost much, and if you go on there, you can do courses and development courses on there. Um, and the SNUI is a nice place that's connected to spiritualism, and it's a Spiritualist National Union International, I believe, and it's a beautiful place where you can connect and learn and practice things and stuff like that. Beautiful place. Because at the moment the Arthur Findlay College is not open, and we've been there many times, and watching the lectures there in the Arthur Findlay College is so great, and it's great to hear the stories of how other mediums came before us and did the same. They took the same journey to discover mediumship, right? And it's to remember that we can strive for mediumship, or we want to be better at mediumship, but it's like in the sometimes if we try to push towards it, it becomes further away. When we can accept, and this is the main thing, self-acceptance, that work in progress dissolves that ego that little bit more, and you can just accept that you're doing the best job you can do for spirit, you're doing your best job as a human being, you're being as caring as possible, and then you're being very down to earth. And when you're in that space, I found that mediumship really flies. So that's, for me, that helps dissolve the ego. And if you're ever on stage or you're doing a demonstration or you're doing mediumship, and suddenly your mind comes in and starts judging you within your mediumship, you just got to say, okay, right, I'm done with this now, because that would be the ego mind judging you, and you just say, now I need to clear this out of the way because I don't need this. We need to be working with a clear mind, and that's where we want to be moving back to that natural mediumship with a clear mind, and that's where we want to be. Um, okay, I'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you for asking that question. But yeah, when you can clear your mind, and that's the thing, and if because if you're doing your mediumship contacts, and you got the spirit world there going, oh, you're not doing you're doing a great job, and you're bringing through the evidence, and suddenly you're saying, oh, but it's not as good as that person, or it's not as good as that, it's not as good as this, and when you do that, you start limiting yourself and your ability. But if you can let that go and just push it to one side, no, I'm not listening to that. I'm going to give what I get and hope for the best. And that would really help. And also accept the no's, because we can learn from the no's. And that's the main thing to remember. It's not all about the yeses when nobody's perfect. And we can learn about the no's. Please talk to us about when, in fact, a rather pushy spirit tries to get in while you are working. Example, I had a spirit come in and it felt like a heart attack. So I said in my head, get out, and that pressing pressure left me. Do you mean in like a one-to-one contact, or do you mean in a demonstration? Because if you got a spirit coming in like that, and you say, and they're like, oh, they want to have a contact, and you're doing that. When I'm thinking about pushy spirits, I mean, I've had whole families wanting to come through in one-to-one contacts with people, and I've really had to turn around and say to them, "Look, I'm sorry, I've got to let Mum speak now, and then Dad wants to come in." And say, "No, no." I said, "Really, I know Dad would have the heart attack, Mum would have something else," and I'd say, "No, hold on a minute, Dad, I'm just going to have to ask you to step to one side because at the moment I'm working with Mum." And I've really had to like split them up and put them in order, and that can be pushy. But sometimes you get from the grandmothers, and not all grandmothers, but some grandmothers come through and they really just want to get their message across, and I'll say, hold on a minute, I'm just going to have to let mum stay to one side because grandmother wants to say something. And once she's done it, I said, okay, is that okay? And then she'll step back. Um, but what you're saying, for example, that you felt the heart attack and it felt like the pressing and pressure had left you, but you'd have to really take control at that moment in time. And that's the main thing to remember. As mediums, we're in control. So whatever we do, when we say like, no, no pushing here, I want you to move to one side, and that's it. Um, Take control. And put them where they need to be, and take them by the hand and talk to them and communicate them about that demonstration on platform. It's happened to me quite a few times, where I've had to really just say no, no, not just now. And it can be quite funny when it happens, but I just have to say to them, I will get to you, but first I'm just going to do this. And when they come in again, I remind them, I said, no, no, I'll get to you in a minute, but I'm going to be doing this. And that's how I deal with it. So I do certainly take control and put them in their place when needed. Okay, so now we've got the last type Maria Magdalena en Jesus trekt mij een beetje weg van CSNU. Ik denk dat een goede is. Hoe denk jij daarover? You know, the SNU, and I think it's any religion, right? The Spiritualist National Union, it just works for me, and that's what I mean. I can resonate with the belief system of it, and because I've been studying it for quite a number of years, and I've been a member of so many years to it. But the SNU is the only religion that accepts me as the medium as I am. That's something that really resonates for me, because it's I could fit into it, and it was like, for me, like wearing a pair of beautiful warm slippers. Now I know that the Spiritual National Union wouldn't be for everyone, but for me it was like coming home. Because when I got in contact with the Spiritualist National Union, I got in contact with that, going through that process. It was like it just fitted with me, and it also gives me the freedom to be the medium, but also speaker that I am today, and I'm really thankful for that. Now, resonating with other things like you've mentioned, like resonating with Mary Magdalena and Jesus, and there's a lot of people that that do that, and there's nothing wrong with it, because it's like whatever resonates with you in a belief system works, and I would say stick with that, because if you choose a belief, it doesn't have to feel like you're confined to a belief, but it has to feel like it enhances your life. Like when I go back in the history of how the stories about Jesus and Mary Magdalena and Mary are, and I think they're wonderful stories, and they're stories of their time, and I can take some of it as that would resonate with me, and then some of it I can take, I don't know. I don't know that 5 fishes can stretch that far. So it's a belief system, and it's just things that resonate or work for me. And there again, the ego comes in with spirituality as well. You think, oh, does that work for me, or does that not work for me? And it's a bit like ice cream, isn't it? You either like the vanilla ice cream, or you like the vanilla ice cream with chocolate chip, or you like the one with caramel. It's like, what resonates with you, what do you like, and what feels good for you, right? And that's how I find my way within spiritualism, but also within any belief system. And there are some belief systems like Buddhism. I think is fantastic, and some beautiful sayings there that I think are very spiritual. And there's plenty of others out there. As long as it doesn't become a dogma, and as long as it's not feeling claustrophobic for other people, I think it's fine. Good morning to those people that are just joining me. Oh yes, we are not in charge if we work. So if we think they are pushy, aren't we too much involved? I think we are. Well, that's a good point there. We are not in charge when we work. So if we think that they are pushy, then we are not then we are too much involved. I think we are. I think it depends. I mean, I get where you're going with this because it's like, yeah, we're. It's like when if you're receiving the information from three communicators at the same time, it's not working. So if you feel that a spirit is coming in, what I'm explaining is you need to make sure that you're in control of where the information's coming from. So you're in charge of how the information comes in. But what the lady was saying about having a pushy spirit come in, she may have been a lot involved in that. Um, and I believe she was at the time. But it's like we learn, and this is a thing that you'll agree with. We learn from every contact we have, and unless we have that contact for ourselves, we can't say completely, oh, because that person felt that that spirit was pushy, then that was their experience. But maybe it was just a character of the spirit world that needed to be expressed at that moment in time. And at the end of the day, I feel that even if someone has an experience where a spirit world can be pushy, or someone's coming in, or that's coming in, and it's like, um, at the end of the day, we're the mediums and we translate what comes through, and we bring through the best of our ability, the information, and and we could say, oh, and you could say, oh, you felt one is coming pushing you, but that might be the essence of that person completely, and you just and when you say that, that's when it changes. It's like if people get the feeling like, oh, there's a spirit coming in, they feel heart attack, and they say, oh, I can't get rid of this, it feels so heavy, and when you express the words, it dissolves. So like when you feel like you're getting a spirit coming through that's pushy, and you feel like, and when you express, oh, she could be quite, forward, and she really wanted to say what she wanted to say. And once you say the words, it dissolves. Once the message has been told, it dissolves. So what I was saying in the beginning was, it's so good to try and keep the mediumship as natural as possible, because if you can do that, you're on the best way. The best way that you can be, the best way to doing mediumship that can be. But the thing I love about mediumship is you can look at it from every angle, and you can think, well, um, is it this way or is it that way? I mean, some people say, oh, piggybacking, and you've got a spirit piggyback, and you're working with one spirit, and another piggyback spirit comes in. You think, well, and then someone may say, no, that's actually not the best way of doing mediumship. But you could say, no, hold on a minute. You're working with this spirit. You recognise the other one. Say, I'll be with you in a minute, and you finish your work, and then you can continue with the next one. So it's like, what is the experience that's going on? We've got to remember that every demonstration has already been done, already been looked at, and the spirit world are already happy with it before we even begin to demonstrate. And then when we get there and we have the demonstration, we do the demonstration, the spirit world are already happy with the work that we've done. So if anyone's thinking to themselves, I didn't do it as well as I wanted to, or I didn't do it as good as I wanted to, you just got to remember you did the best work you could do on the day. And always, always, we're a work in progress, and always, always, we are the ones that that do the mediumship. And every single contact you make, you will learn something from it, because then people are not the same. People don't react the same, and in the spirit world, it's the same. People have so many different um, experiences. Um, I'm just seeing the reading another one. Okay, so I'm getting acknowledgement about the what we just spoke about the pushy spirit. It turned out to be in a development class. It was the teacher's father, and when she mentioned the feelings, then the feelings settled down and it got softer as the message was delivered. And I think that's exactly, that's confirmation right there in itself, and it's just an experience, you know. And if you've experienced it in that way, then you would have known that within that, you know, um, I like to say some people can be quite, and it's just what when you say the word pushy, it can mean so many things. It can mean someone that really knows themselves and really has a strong energy, and they know themselves, and they stand on the 2 feet, and they know where they're going. But it could be someone that's like really, you know, that in life was like, oh, I'll tell you what for. And there's so many different tangents to what it is, and it's really good to like have these talks and think about it, because when you go back to getting these sort of connections again, you might connect to them in a different way, and you'll be like, oh, I'm feeling that feeling of pushiness again. What does that mean? It might mean that they were in the army. You know, you never know. That feeling might actually say they came from a strong background and they had to keep their. So there's so much there and so much information there that could be within that. And with every spirit is different. You know, with everyone it's different. Yeah, you know, I like that. Someone's just written confidence, and I'm like, yeah, you know, because I mean, if anyone, you know, anyone that comes to a group, can I learn a bit more confidence? And it's like, yeah, um, it's amazing that in when we got this mediumship going on, they choose so many sensitive people to come and do this mediumship work, but they don't give them instant confidence. They need to learn that themselves, and they need to develop that themselves. And it just shows you that you know, that they choose the sensitive ones, the shy ones, the ones that have had a bit of a colourful life, and that, you know, that's you know, that's what it is. It's like once you, and they'll choose them, and then you've got to work on those confidence issues, and you've got to work on those trust issues, and you've got to work on those sort of things with yourself. So then we come back to the self development part, and when you come back to that, it's like, okay, then you're building towards something else, you're building to something new. It's like being that work in progress and knowing that you will get there in the end. It may not be where you think you'll end up, but you certainly will get there in the end. And I think that's the main thing to remember with mediumship. We evolve as we evolve personally, and as we evolve as a human being, we evolve also as a medium. So the more that we can accept ourselves, you know, good, bad, the ugly, whatever, you know, if you can accept it, then you're opening up to more possibilities within your mediumship, because then you can accept that in others, you know. I like the one thing is, I mean, that's going on around that. There's a lot of people that they'll be looking at others and they'll be like in judgment, and I say, well, what is it what's inside of you that wants to judge others? Do you judge yourself the same way? And a lot of people do, and they say, well, when are you going to set yourself free? And when are you going to step into freedom? And when you step into freedom, you set yourself free and say, okay, I'm not going to judge myself that harshly. I'm going to give myself a break. I'm going to set myself free. And it's like once you do that, you can set yourself free within your mediumship to open up into something new. And that's a really nice thing to see, when you can see mediums like, you know, and students just opening up to something new. And it's a self-discovery. It's opening the door. It's like you can either stand there nervous doing your work, heart going like this, or you can say, right, that's it, spirit, today I'm not going to have the nerves, I'm going to stand up and let's just get on with it, and open the door. Because imagine this, how would your mediumship be if you could stand there in confidence? And how would your mediumship be if you could stand there and just, you know, step into your real light of who you are? And that's stepping into the real you and the real medium that you are. And that's not trying to be anything better than you are. That's just giving yourself enough positivity to express yourself in your mediumship to the best of your ability. And that's a beautiful, beautiful way to do it. So we've got here building the inner muscle and confidence, making us learn and grow and develop. Well, yeah, because like I said before, just rewinding to the power. It's like the power of you is the essence of who you are, but the power of you is also the self knowledge of who you are and building on those parts of you, like negative thinking, put it out the door, Um, find the joy in yourself and in your mediumship, and you will excel. When you can find the joy within your mediumship, it will get better because when you enjoy it, it becomes an ignition of something great, and that's when you can get into the flow, and that will get you out of mediumship slum. Just getting that joy and just enjoying that connection of the possibilities of what spirit can bring, and training that to get into some sort of flow is like just making that more alive. And that inner muscle that you're talking about, it's like that inner self. It's like acceptance, and I think the greatest acceptance is, and it seems to be keep coming up, so it must be relevant. Accept yourself as being a work in progress. You're not perfect. It's okay. I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. When was anybody ever perfect? But yet we put ourselves down for not being it, and yet and we keep saying we have to achieve it. And if we keep saying we have to achieve it, it makes it further and further away, so that we don't achieve it, and then we feel bad that we didn't achieve it. But if we got into the acceptance of saying, hey, I'm a work in progress, it really doesn't matter, because I will get from step A to step B, and it may go through a couple of other steps to get there, but it's going to be a wonderful journey, and I'm ready to undertake that journey. It gives you freedom to be exactly who you are right now and to enjoy that progression of self. And confidence makes us learn and grow and develop. Yeah, and the confidence will come with that. More joy and excitement, what spirit thrives on. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to thank you all for being here. I've gone a little bit over time. I think I went off a bit, but it's all relevant. So I really enjoyed talking to you, and feel free to give me a like, and I look forward to talking to you next week. I'll be back at the same time, and get your questions ready next time to talk, because then we can start off with some really good questions. I hope this was all good for you, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day, and enjoy the weather. So thank you. You're welcome. It's funny, and then I stop, and more people arrive. So I'm joking, but anyway, I just want to say thank you for joining me. This is now coming to the end of this, because I'll just keep going. But it was a good talk, and I really did enjoy talking to you. So I'll have a little chat with you next week, same time. I'll be back for questions and answers about mediumship and spirituality. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. Bye bye.